Airline Manager 4, Fuel. These are tips about using fuel. You need fuel in order to depart planes. So if you do not have fuel, which is over here, here's the amount that's being held. If it's too low, you will not be able to depart planes if the amount of fuel you have is too low. You buy fuel into a general supply, which is used for any and all planes. So you don't have to buy fuel for each plane. You just buy one supply, which, as I showed you, is right here. This is the amount that you are holding. You can increase profits by saving fuel by reducing your cost index, which reduces airspeed. So you can do it by buying fuel at a cheaper price. You see the low point in the graph over here. It was only $6.40, but for most of the day it's been pretty high. And the other way to do it is to adjust the cost index. You see over here it says cost index and they all say 200. That's the value that you want to adjust. Unfortunately, it's difficult to find the menu option to adjust it. Over here, there will be an option that says cost index. However, you cannot adjust it while you're in flight. It has to be done when you're on the ground. And there used to be an option over here that said cost index, where you could adjust it globally for every aircraft, but it didn't work. And I know I've seen it here and they've removed it. So sometimes they add it and sometimes they remove it. But otherwise, you have to go to the panel on the left and you have to look for the slider that says cost index. The lowest fuel price is generally $100 or $300. The highest is $2,500. So over here you see $24.80 is probably the highest I've ever seen it. And over here the lowest is $6.40. You obviously want to buy it when it's low, especially early in the game. Early in the game, you want to buy below 500, then below 800, and then below 1200 for most of the game. Once you get the high-capacity planes, such as the A380-800, you can make a profit even if you buy fuel at 2500. So these planes, which are the more expensive ones, these aircraft, you don't have to worry about the fuel price because they fly so many passengers that you're going to make a profit. Look how much money I'm making, $4.5 million. Fuel prices change randomly every 30 minutes, which is shown here. Every 30 minutes, the price changes. You can buy higher fuel capacity by using points. You go over here where the points are, and you look for increased tanks, and you buy it with 120 points. My recommendation is that you don't use it. I recommend that you have tanks of approximately 10,000. Once you go over 10,000, it's not necessary, especially later in the game. Early in the game, you benefit because you can buy a lot of fuel at a low price. But later in the game, it doesn't matter. And the reason why is because I depart my planes no matter what the fuel price is. With a full fleet, you need about 8,000 pounds of fuel to depart 20 large planes, such as the A380-800. So when I depart all of my planes, I depart 20 at a time. It uses around 8,000 pounds of fuel. You see over here it says 16 routes departed, 20 routes departed, and it says how much money I spent, which was no, that's how much income it was. It doesn't show the expenses for fuel because I already purchased it. And you see how it says 16 million purchased, 18 million purchased. I purchase around every 50 planes departed. There are two vertical bars in the upper right, the green for CO2 and the black for fuel supply. These are the bars that I'm talking about. If you run out of money to buy fuel, sell a plane or reduce the cost index. I did make a video which explains what to do if you run out of money for fuel. Keep a cheap, profitable aircraft early in the game in case you can't depart your planes and need to make some money. So if you run out of money and you run out of fuel, you won't be able to depart your planes. So keep a cheap aircraft like the Saab or the Stratocruiser that makes a profit. Something that definitely makes a profit. The fuel has to be bought at a low price. This way, you can depart your cheap plane, which uses very little fuel, make some money, use it to buy more fuel when the price is low, and after a few days, you'll have enough money again to fly the rest of your aircraft. So early in the game, when you think you might go bankrupt, keep a cheap plane that uses very little fuel. Planes use the same amount of fuel per departure, regardless of passengers or load on a given route per flight. So if I pick a plane over here, you'll notice it uses the same amount of fuel, 47,000 pounds, no matter how many people there are. This one has fewer passengers and it uses the same amount of fuel. It's not true for quotas. So let's see if we can find something that that uses low fuel. We want to look at the passenger to fuel ratio, which is column G. So I am going to sort by column G. And is that correct? Passengers to fuel the Phenom? That doesn't make sense. There's got to be something wrong here. This has got to be the wrong column. Passengers per fuel. I'm gonna sort the other way. The Neo, these are fuel efficient aircraft. So which one is really cheap? You're going to look at the plane cost. That one's cheap. This one, the Tupolev 204-120 is a cheap, fuel-efficient plane. The A318-100, the A220-100, the CRJ-1000. Going to look for one that's even cheaper. Way on the low end, the Caravelle 3. See the LR on the ERJ? LR means long range, I bet. The ATR 72-500. Okay, here it is. The ATR 42-320 brings in 46 passengers, and it has a good passenger to fuel ratio. So if you buy one of these planes and keep it, you should bring in a decent amount of money. If you happen to run out of money and you run out of fuel and you're very low on fuel, you can try and fly this plane to bring your income in again. Okay, so that is my video. If you have any questions, you can go to my forum at cheapbooks.cc. Go to the Airline Manager forum where all of my guides and tutorials are posted. And I also own cheapbooks.com, which is for buying books and textbooks. You can search book covers. You can search by title, by author, etc. There's a link to the forum right here. And if you like books in general, obviously you could go to my book website, which is right here, and my other sites. Okay, if you have any questions or comments, please post below.